Some jazz today, yes you gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1, 2, 3 man with a 4, 5 step to the door like, oh my gosh, just throw that cash in a back bag, run around the back.
Hey everybody, it's Liz from the Lemon Bowl.
Vince from Irie Kitchen.
And welcome to the Irie Lemon podcast. Okay guys, here we are, episode 40.
40.
We have some really exciting guests today.
Yes, we do.
Okay, friends, introduce yourselves to the world.
I'm Chrstine Vogel.
And I'm Scott Vogel. We're the owners of Nothing Bundt Cakes Grand Rapids.
And I think wherever you're listening, I feel like Nothing Bundt Cakes has a cult following because they're all over. How many locations are there in total?
Yeah, so there's 350 now. So it's kind of grown. And by the way, it's just awesome to be around people right now.
Side note.
I have a big grin right now because this feels really normal and awesome.
I know. We missed it too. We just started recording in person a couple weeks ago, and especially, first of all, virtual podcasting is just night and day. The quality is way better in person. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've just been, even when I listen to other podcasts, I'm just so glad when they're back in the studio. But yeah, we're super thrilled too. Thank you guys for coming out.
Oh,
Thanks for having
awesome
us.
to be here.
So we have a few goodies on the table. So there's another business you guys are affiliated. Do you want to mention it?
So Cooper's Hawk, and we brought some wine to enjoy today.
Yeah.
Excited.
Yeah, they have, is it 41 locations now?
I think they're about 41 to 42.
Yeah, it is my brother's concept restaurant and winery.
So cool.
And they brought their location to Grand Rapids a year ago.
That's so cool. And isn't it the biggest wine club in the country?
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
300,000?
I think they're a little north of that. I overstated it and said it was the biggest one in the world, but no one's disputed that.
Right.
So,
I was going to say it's
Biggest one in the world.
More than 300,000 people.
so if you're
there.
fact checking out there, for the United States,
300,000.
for sure.
That's a lot of people.
It's a
Yeah.
lot
300,000 people is
of people.
a lot
Cake
of
and
people.
wine.
Yeah,
Sounds
what's
like
better?
I mean, I feel like if you're going to have a business in the pandemic, a cake and a wine business are probably the right
You can
ones
drink
to
and eat
have.
your sorrows away.
It's kind of a perfect pairing,
It
but
does
we're
seem
very
like
biased.
Okay, so we have so many questions to ask you. I want you to start by just telling us your journey to deciding, because obviously, how long has the bakery been around now?
Gosh, we're over 3.5
I was going to
years
say
now.
3 or 4
Congrats.
years.
No,
Congratulations.
thank you. It feels like dog years right now with COVID, but it's 3.5 years.
And was that your first bakery ever owning?
Yes,
First business.
first business
Wow.
at all, first time in the food industry.
Wow.
You've got some background. So we're incredibly humbled, by the way.
So explain that. How has the food business been for you?
Man, humbling.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the biggest thing. You don't fully get what it takes. And again, like we're quick service restaurant in a sense where we are uber focused on one thing, very much a niche. Like it's just Bundt cake, right?
Yeah.
So now incredible respect for people who have restaurants who have all these different dishes and disciplines. And it's so much harder than what you would ever dream it would be. And I'm looking at you because you know that, right?
Yeah. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, period.
It is. And it's just the dynamic of people and making sure it is always good. But the best way to say it is that we were in corporate America. You had an awesome background. And Chris was studied to be a pastry chef. So she was legit, and
That's
she
awesome.
loved pastries and baking. And then I'm the marketing guy,
Right.
which you don't want me anywhere near the kitchen in general. I'd be like, I would be the guy on Food Network or the worst cook in America, and so you would want me by it. But I had the business background, and I think what happened is we lived out in Boston. A company recruited me away from Keurig, the single serve coffee company.
Wow.
Bissell, who's here in Grand Rapids, and Grand Rapids was never on our radar screen. But when we moved here, we fell in love with it.
Right.
And there was that moment of, as I was going into general management, where I think it was a level of, do I have a lot of passion for it? And then the other aspect is that every 5 to 7 years we were moving for positive reasons. Sooner or later, it's going to be a reason that we've downsized or you're no longer needed here anymore. So we decided it's like, well, let's make a stand for ourselves. And so we surprised people that Nothing Bundt Cakes is a franchise, but it's old school baking and frosting. So it's, you buy into these awesome recipes, fun brand name, but we loved the concept because one, it was like, man, maybe we could make a run at Grand Rapids being our forever home. But the other thing, it was an amazing platform to give back. It was a business model that I felt comfortable with. And then Chris was like, well, it's baking, man. I'm all in.
Right.
And so that kind of, that was the intersection where we were like, let's go for it.
Okay.
So wait, I need some background.
Yeah.
Sorry, Liz.
No,
Liz, your homie. I need some background. So are you guys from GR?
No, so
We really want to be adopted fully.
So I am from the Chicago suburbs, and Scott's from just outside of Cincinnati.
Okay.
But what I like to tell people is when you're in Chicago, the North Siders go to Wisconsin in the summer. The South Siders go to Michigan. So I grew up every summer coming to, well, not Grand Rapids, going to a part of Michigan like around South Haven, Benton Harbor. Every summer, I mean, since I was a baby.
Yeah.
So when Scott said, hey, what do you think about Michigan? I'm like, it's like my second home and I love it. So that was total no-brainer.
Wow.
That's perfect.
Okay, so, and then you guys were in Boston. So you guys met, obviously, before then.
Yeah, we met in Chicago. Do you want to?
Well, no. Well, so I was with, if you know the George Foreman Grill, the name of the company was Sultan. And we had everything under the sun, from bread man, bread maker, to juice man, juice maker. And so you would take vacation off of school, or school from work, because we paid incredibly well for people to cook the food on all the appliances. So she's close to the food. And then, so that's how I met her. But the great thing is she asked me out, thankfully. I was not hitting on the demo girl.
The demo girl hit on him.
The demo girl.
Sorry,
that was the clarify that.
That's so funny.
And then for you to be doing like some marketing work for Keurig, that's huge. That's like a massive company. I mean, probably at the time too.
Number 150.
150, 160 in there, but it was a cool experience. So if you remember the big like financial meltdown in 2008, people weren't going to Starbucks much anymore, and people were brewing their coffee at home.
Yeah.
I was very lucky. I moved from another company I was at, and Keurig was starting in hyper growth. It was a $300 million company when I started there, which wasn't small, but I mean, it wasn't huge.
Yeah.
When I left 7 years later, it was about a $6 billion company.
Holy cow.
So it was this juggernaut, but it was
that really did take off. Like
incredible.
There was a time when it was like special to have a Keurig. Now, basically, everyone has
got one.
Yeah. Wow. So you saw that growth. That gives you more context. So now we're here.
We're here.
Grand Rapids, Nothing Bundt Cakes. Okay, you can go with your question.
Well, I wanted to ask, so you're in the franchise business now, which in and of itself is, I worked for Marriott franchises before, and there's a lot of pros and then also a lot of standards you have to uphold too. So I'd love to know, what was maybe one of the biggest unexpected hurdles that you faced within the last, because you're still like the first 3.5 years, it's still like that first chapter. So what was the first like unexpected hurdle?
Man, I guess, it's funny. So I worked in product innovation, so it was always trying to be 3 to 5 years ahead of everything. And so I was really excited where I'm going to let everyone else think about it. And I'm just there's this playbook they're going to give you, right? And then you just execute the playbook, and then what could go wrong, right? And I think it was just that mental aspect of always getting used to like calling the shots, but then taking that full step back. And I went completely on the other side where it was just follow the playbook. And I was losing myself a little bit. And so I think it was just that. I think the first challenge was identity within it. And then we're in a city that, while we've been here for a couple years, clearly we really didn't know, because it's kind of this circle of trust as we learned in Grand Rapids. Like, I can't tell you how many people we disappointed who walked in the bakery and said, hey, I hear Scott Vogel or Christine Vogel, opened the bakery, and then they would see us this. And they're like, you're not Scott Vogel that I was thinking, or Christine Vogel.
Funny.
We're like, so sorry. We're so glad you're here.
That's funny.
No, but yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the
Very much so.
first thing of like, and then I think the other thing is managing in a restaurant environment. Went from managing people who could be making north of six figures to an hourly wage employee, and what motivates someone, engages someone. Well, we're all wired the same in a sense, vastly different, especially with experiences that certain individuals would have. And so it was like, oh man, what just happened? It was like a Mack truck.
Yeah.
And I would add to that, when we first opened, Scott and I were both there full time. Kids were in daycare, or in school, and I would come in after I took them. And you quickly learn that you cannot have two bosses in the same place.
No.
Yeah.
And then go home together and
That's my
not
next
talk
question.
about work and be happy. And so we have been very lucky that I now am, for the most part, home with the kids. I still go in. I still, do deliveries when I need to and help out when I need to. And a lot of times, besides right now, you would go in and you see the kids there and they have their aprons on and they love being there. But yeah, we definitely learned more about ourselves and that we probably should not be there together all the time.
So headline, we're still married.
Happily.
And happily
Very
married, we're
happily.
smiling, sitting next to each other. But that's
Wait.
code.
Funny, though.
But that's
Shit
code
went
for.
bad.
That's code for. We learned a lot about each other.
Right.
No, because you see it happen a lot in the restaurant industry. Like, divorce rate is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
Like-
I grew up, my dad has his business, and I saw him doing that, and, so I have his way of doing things kind of ingrained in my head. And Scott, being from, he's worked in all sorts of corporations and whatnot, he's got the way that he does things in his head. And one isn't right and one isn't wrong, but they don't necessarily mesh at the same place. So we kind of had to figure that out.
Yeah, a great example of that would be Chris would look at someone's like, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
Yeah.
And then there would be me like, hey guys, let's go do a trust fall in the parking lot.
Yeah.
We'll figure this out, right? You got like these crazy bookends, right?
Two different spectrum.
Right.
That's
So
hilarious.
I always feel like when you work with family, you work with your dad, you both work with family in the rest. So you're already in like the food and beverage industry, super high pressure, there's all the things stacked against you. And then you're working with family, so you have that whole dichotomy. So how did you divide up the roles? Like, how did you determine that? Because do you agree that you have to basically make clear definitions of roles?
Yes.
Okay. So how did that go down? Or was it pretty easy because you both naturally wanted to do different things?
Well, you didn't want me to bake. Let's make that clear. so she totally jumped in at baking. But
Yeah, I think we started where, we had a list of, okay, this is what I'm going to do and this is what you're going to do. And then once we got into it and it was like, yeah, I don't agree with how you're doing that. Or, okay, I think, you could do this better than I'm doing it. I think it was kind of just starting and seeing where it went.
Which makes sense.
And I think it almost looked like live television because in the front facing to the consumer, it's like you look like everything's great.
Right.
And in the back, like
Eating cake,
equipment's
everything's
breaking,
happening.
5 people didn't show up for their shift. And oh my gosh, no one's walking through the door. And
Forgot to order sugar.
Like,
Yeah,
how
not-
could this
not
happen?
today.
And
Right.
who's doing what? And so it's just like,
Yeah.
I can relate to that big time on divvying out roles. I'm not married to anybody or anything like that. But definitely with
Like, ladies, if you're listening.
ladies, you're listening. Irie Don, just hit me up in the DMs. But like working with family definitely is like a hard period. And in restaurants, food business, whether it's a franchise or not, it's still hard because to your Playbook example, you still gotta run the business.
yeah.
And then on top of that, we're in Grand Rapids. So people make, you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I'm like, you can make it in goddamn Grand Rapids. I think you can make it anywhere.
Right.
It's a super hard city to figure out. Like, it's not easy. It's nice, but it's not easy. You know, and so you have to
100% agree.
Right, like you think people are just gonna support your business just because you open a cool concept? Like that's not gonna work. That's not gonna happen.
No,
they don't
you
support.
need a reason.
They need a reason.
Yeah,
like, they
and
don't
I love that part because now that we're in that spot and we have the support, you get it and you want it.
Correct.
You know, it's almost like you want to have this business that you've worked for and people know that you've worked for and you've earned it.
Yeah, it kind of eliminates the entitlement that
Yeah.
other people have, that they just think that you're going to just open it up and
Yeah.
jump right up to that. Yeah. But then you get it back. So I feel like anything hard is more rewarding at the end.
Yeah.
100%.
But it is incredible how hard it is to break in. And the best piece of advice that someone gave me when we first opened, she goes, listen, you're not from here, so you better tell people why you opened it. They go, if you're trying to make Grand Rapids your forever home, then you should say it. And I was like, I was on autopilot. I was saying it all the time. Where
Right.
you could see our team in the background rolling their eyes. It's like, here he goes again.
And
Wants
this
to
is my
make
forever
this
home.
forever home.
Yeah.
But it was sincere, but it was the best advice someone could give us, because a few people, I think, maybe out of pity or they really liked us, they helped us out and started introducing us to people.
So you don't need me too many details. How was it when you guys like opened up? Was it a crazy success from day one?
No.
Probably not. So like, how did you guys like earn it? Right. Obviously, you're communicating with people. Then like, how was that upwards trend like on the day to day, or was it just like? Because for me, it's been like,
Yeah.
right? Like, it hasn't been like I had to earn so much because like our food is completely outside of the realm of what Grand Rapids wants to eat on a daily basis or what they think.
Awesome.
Which is awesome. It's the opportunity, but also like it's you're not thinking it when you started like this is gonna be your biggest hurdle, right? Like none but cakes. Like this Grand Rapids, like they probably go to like I don't know the local bakery. Like where do they really go to get cakes? Like Family Fare. Like everyone like I'm not. Dipping. I'm just being like or Meyer. Like where are they really going? I think I've had so many Meyer cakes as a kid. Like everyone's parents went to Meyer to get the birthday cake.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, this sheet cake serves like 89 people
Yeah,
for
it's amazing.
$5.33, and you want to spend for 10 people 22. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
You know. And all it is, it's just Bundt cake. Like, really, that's what people are saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the best way to say it is that, I mean, we sucked at the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
we did. I mean, there's no better way. It was like, people weren't coming in. We had the team ready, and it was like, you open up your doors, and we gave away free Bundtlets, which is our personal size cakes.
Yeah.
And there was a line wrapped around the corner. We were able to do a really good like launch plan with it. Everything worked out. I'm like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
Then the next day, not many people. And you know, it was literally a year to a year and a half before things started to take. And it was tough because by being part of franchise, you get visibility to everyone else's numbers. And you're just
those
like,
reports that come.
it's like you're sitting there and it's like you're the poor guy who's running a road race and you have people leaving the course and a couple people like, you can do it, buddy. You know, it's like you were so
like,
off course. And that's the way it felt like for the longest time. And we were like putting our hearts into it. So there are those moments of doubt, you know, and it's funny how that's when fear starts creeping in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and that's where you're just like, and the funny thing about fear is it's like, the thing I was scared of is like, wasn't like the failure, it's public failure, right?
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. It was like, oh my gosh, like everyone's gonna know
What people will say or think about you.
I failed, and so that the doubt started creeping in when things weren't taking.
So if you had to attribute how you were able to kind of rebound and succeed, are there like one or two things that happened that you did or marketing strategies that you did that you can specifically say that hugely impacted us positively?
I think the moment of truth came where we capitalized the business. If everything went wrong, we would still be okay. Like our Chris's brother, who starred Cooper's Hawk, said to us, he goes, "Hey guys, worst thing that could happen is you have to live in one of your parents' basement with your kids."
Yeah.
Which sounds horrible.
That's horrible. Thankfully, her dad had a big basement. Just
right? This basement is not that bad.
I think the moment where we about ran out of money, and which would have meant me
the best part
getting hiring a manager and then going back to the corporate gig. But that moment where payroll was getting tough was the moment it got real. It was like, because you could come up with reasons why you couldn't make it work. Or you were following this playbook, and some things may work, but by and large it wasn't. And Grand Rapids was a different market. I think at that moment where we just said, oh, "The hell with it,"
you burned the playbook.
Like it's like, here's the playbook, moving over the side. We're gonna still follow this brand standards and all that good stuff, but we're gonna do this on our own terms. And it's like, and it's time. And if you're gonna go down with the ship, let's do it our way. And so there were like, I think the DNA of us doing that was there throughout, but it was done with the excuses. And I think the moment where we just looked at everything, because our business is so driven by holidays, that you get uber focused on holidays, but then this moment came to us where we just said, it was like, no, you're going to lose your business if all you do is think about holidays. Holidays are the cherry on top. It's everything in between. You'll win the business and you'll succeed in between the holidays.
It's funny because food blogging is actually quite similar, because a lot of blogs do, of course more people are cooking on Christmas and Easter and etc. than maybe a Tuesday in July. But I remember from day one, I just wanted to create evergreen content. Like, you have to eat dinner every day of the year, but you're only going to make an Easter ham once, maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
So in a lot of blogs do get so hyper, they'll do cookies for the entire month of December, and they're just like, and they get a lot of traffic that month. But I never even thought about that, how if you do get so hyper in a business there's only 10 holidays a year, you know what I mean? So,
and that was a lot of the playbook, and so we moved that aside. The other thing is we were living our values, where the name of our business is Ohana Ventures, which is Ohana's Hawaiian for family. And so the thing about it is we hired all these people and we felt like we're responsible for them. So you have a choice in business. I think this moment came to us where you could cut your way to potential success, or we just looked at each other and said, well, our problem is we just need to get bigger faster. And it was like, but we're sucking wind. But it's like, well, we could lay people off, make even more cuts, or let's just get bigger.
Yeah.
And it was that moment of like, well, let's just do it. Let's get bigger and let's go.
They burned the ships at the shore.
Yeah, you got it. It's like there's no turning back.
Let's turn it back.
Let's do this. And that made a big difference. And the very last thing was, we went through, and if someone was just taking our money, or were you supporting us as a partner? And we took everybody who supported the business, from obviously a food provider all the way to the person who took the trash.
Yeah.
And so if you weren't on board with us, we fired you. And we found someone who wanted to walk alongside us in our journey. And then the people who were our partners, we pulled them aside and said, okay, guys, hope you had a great Christmas. We're not doing so good. We need help. And so we took our ego, pushed it over to the side, and said, all right, you guys have been with us. What suggestions do you have?
Yeah.
How can we jumpstart the business? This is what we want to do, but we don't know Grand Rapids well. And that's where people started stepping in. They were like, well, have you done this? I'm going to connect you with this person. Those 3 or 4 things at that moment where it got real is when it started to come together.
And was your ego really that bruised by asking the thoughts of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we build it up.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
And that is the beauty of Grand Rapids, though. You ask someone for help, and you become a part of the community, and you get it. People want to help you.
Pretty long-term loyalty.
Yeah.
Too. Like, almost like once you're in, you're in.
And I think the benefit of what happened is we had this team we couldn't give up on, and throughout all of this, during the year and a half, we donated a ton of cake. Like, we wanted to have a business of purpose, right? But anytime anyone had a nonprofit event, we donated the cake.
Smart.
So it's like context is, it's like, right now we have a budget of $30,000 a year that we give away in cake to nonprofits. Fast forward to year 3, we built to $30,000. We've given away over $100,000 worth of cake.
Wow.
Well, it's amazing what we gave away that first year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was just because we have a team, we've got an oven, we have ingredients, let's just bake, let's frost, let's bake, we'll frost. So, I mean, we were going through mad ingredients, and the cash register was like,
Yeah.
pretty anemic.
Right.
Starting balance was this, ending balance. Great. We're crushing it.
I mean, that's so true for, I think, many restaurants. Like, you operate a negative for so long.
Yeah.
And, like, you have to kind of be sick in the head. Like, you have to like challenges to be in it. Like, anyone, and I say soft, which I've gotten better at not calling people soft lists. Sorry. But, like, a lot of people who I say soft, who can't deal with any pushback, break. In the restaurant business, we're, like, exposed that. Like, who are you as a person? Like, there's people that can take breaks, people that don't take breaks. Like, there's people like, and does that mean that you're not valuable? It just really expose yourself to you really quick because you're in a high pressure situation. It's people, you get one shot. Like, it's not like anything else. Like, Amazon can forget your package, mess something up. You order from Amazon again next week.
Yep.
If I give you a bad meal, not only are you leaving me a bad review, you'll never come back. You'll tell everybody you know that's the worst place to go. And I could have had an off day. I could have just messed up.
Yeah.
Like, I could have, something went wrong out of my control, really. In my control because it's my facility, but like not paying attention. Human error. And then you could lose a customer. So I remember before we even opened, people were like giving us bad reviews. Like, we weren't even open yet. Like,
Really?
yes. They're like, worst Jamaican food ever. I'm like, well, we'd be crazy if we were open.
Just for
Like,
fun?
I don't know what the game was. I didn't know like what it was going on. Like, we had 10 negative reviews. They're like, fuck, I gotta overcome these 10. But I'm sick. I'm like, all right, fuckers. Like, I'll show you fucking. I'll fucking show you bad Jamaican food. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so then we have to be up. Even to this day, there's like still bad reviews when we weren't even open. I'm like, that's so fucking weird. Anyway, but
And those are with you forever, right?
Right, exactly. And then me, I was 20, so I'm like, all right, Jamaican restaurant, I'm young, people are gonna come support it. Like, I've done things in the city, I'm cool, right? Like, I have permission. I do it, and then like really, like none of my like main support base came. I'm like, fuck. So this is not gonna be built off my friends. They're not gonna come and support my business. So then I'm like, all right, well now I gotta like market it and build the business. And then all right, cool, it's Jamaican food. Right, jerk chicken, and like people are like looking at me like they want more. Like they don't know what that is. Like, in matter of fact, like the first few weeks, people come in like, "Where's your burger and fries?" I'm like,
just assuming there'd be like the
I'm
pity
like,
Americans.
bro,
It's
it's burger and fries. It's a Jamaican restaurant. You got jerk chicken. I'm like, well, I don't want that. I want burger and fries. I'm like, what the fucking Wendy's across the street? Like, that was like kind of like my reaction at first. I'm like, I really to education part. So I just started educating. I started marketing, and then, but you really have to earn people's respect, and people want to support your business. And so like that has been also, I think, the most difficult part is like earning that, because like people want you to ask for help, or people want to support your business, but they gotta know who you are, and you gotta like kind of play the game a little bit with them, and like I was completely by myself, a silo, don't have investors. I just like in my own, I didn't buy from Cisco or Gordon Foods, like so like I didn't have any like the connection points of the people who were in food locally to support my business. And so I had to like figure out my way, burn the playbook. I didn't really have a playbook.
That's what I was about to say. Like,
day by
there's
day.
nothing. There's no breadcrumbs for you to follow. Like, it was just like, actually, both of you. It's like no one was in your space when you started. There were a few.
Yeah.
You're a pioneer, and you pioneered food here in Grand Rapids, but it wasn't like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not like you had like this franchise book of like, well, this is what they did in Dallas.
Yeah. There's pros and cons.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, and even with that, it's Dallas, not Grand Rapids.
Right.
Or is New York. Like, well, that's a whole different market structure. Like, the biggest thing is like, every time I travel, I'm like, man, GR is so local. Like, it's small business. Like that, like you have to get in. Like certain people, like Liz has to like co-sign me for everyone else to want to come eat it. It's like real though. Like the reviews are great. Like people should love the food, but like it took like a Liz to come by. Like, oh, then like now you get EGR to come.
Now you're legit.
But I equate it to, and this sounds really odd for Ohio boy to talk about surfing, but I love the surf. But it's like localism. It's localism about surf spot. It's the same thing here in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
It's like either you're in and you're local, or you aren't.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like, you know these certain people where everyone kind of nods and goes, okay, I know that person. That's good. I know what you do in the community. And, man, you got to fight your way to earn it. And everyone's doing that to you while they smile at you, of course. Because everyone's so nice here. But
the West Michigan nice thing. Man.
It is. I mean, everyone for us was looking at us like, oh, bakery, Bundt cakes. You're giving us that really nice smile. They're like, I hope you keep your home.
No, jerk chicken, right?
Okay, so I have a question about burning the playbook, which you told me first when we were in Mexico, which was rest in peace, fun trips.
Oh my gosh.
That was the best. So you told me that if you're gonna fall on the sword, you want it to be for your idea, not doing something. So you could just expand on that. I know, Vince, you say the same thing, and I just felt like I really wanted you to have that. I think that's such a good lesson.
No, I think a lot of it is that you got to know you didn't leave anything on the table. Like, did you put your heart out there? Did you dig deep, and did you follow your heart in what you felt was right? Because if you look back after everything went wrong and you're closing up the business, say that happens, and you just played it safe, then you're going to have regret. And you can't have that regret. And I think the moment when you start, you kind of push everything to the side, you face the fear and everything else, is the moment you start finding your passion and your drive and you start to shine. I really do. And so I think that was huge, because you're always, like, in corporate America, you're always looking for someone to approve of what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You know, so it's like, okay, so I can get my review and I got my 5 out of 5 stars or whatever it is. And then it's your moment, like, there is, right. It's like, who am I trying to make happy? And it was like, well, we want a business that people love and that we feel like we have purpose. And if we do that and we consistently just go about giving back to the community, things are going to be okay. And I don't know if that fully answers it, but it's just this it's a mindset shift.
Yeah. Well, and I remember you were saying you were, getting a lot of feedback, some of it helpful, some of it not. And it's like, I'm sure people really thought they knew the best thing for your business. And how does anybody really know what's the best thing?
So we would get a lot of, well, if it was the franchise, we've never done that before from a marketing standpoint. Or you have everyone, Vince, you've got to have this as well. Everyone comes in with their opinion. Like, your sign,
no, not his customer.
Your sign isn't bright enough, or this or that. It's like there's 1,000 things, and at moment of like, no, I think that's a great marketing idea. Chris came up with the idea. I was like, great, let's just do it. And then if you fail quick, and then move on to the next thing. And I think that's the thing of, like, it isn't like once you fail, go, oh, woe is me, and lick your wounds. It's like, oh, that didn't work. Let's do this.
We've done that a few
And it's just like, so
You have to.
it's like the same thing we tell our kiddos, and it sounds kind of hokey, but it's like we say, hey guys, what happens when you fall off your bike? Just get back on. Sometimes you get up a little slower, but it's just like, get back on that bike and start pedaling.
Right.
And it was. And then we stopped listening to, well, this has worked in 42 other markets. You're going to crush it. If we don't think that's a great idea, then don't do it. And we're going to do this over here. And oddly enough, this over here to the right outperformed this over left because it was Grand Rapids.
What's the thing? Grand Rapids is unlike
It's a whole
any
different
other
place.
market.
We're the first bakery in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
And the closest bakery to us was 200 miles away, so in Chicago. So it's like, no one knew who we were.
But you knew once you were here, and that's how you knew to trust your instinct.
And it's just like, let's do this. And it was stop looking for everyone else's attaboys.
Yeah.
Yep.
You aren't going to get them.
Yeah.
Especially not in Grand Rapids, man.
No.
They're not going to give you that shit. But, like, no, that's real, because I believe that to be true. And I always chalk it up to being soft or not soft, but it's like you have to – it's much better to fail because, like, it was me. Like, the worst is to be like, I listened to this person, and now I left it on the table. And I kind of learned that lesson from my father really early on, but really, I played football my freshman year, and I got hurt. It's not like I was going pro or anything, but like
You could say you did, and we would just all
believe it. No, I was not like nowhere. But he looked at me, and I was like hurt, and he was like, "You're coming back to play," and I was like, "Probably not." Like. don't really love it. I'm doing it to get girls, to be honest. I think that's stupid. And now my back hurts. You know what I'm saying? I have back problems to this day because of it.
So
but
at least you had hope in high school.
Right.
I had none,
Well,
even if I played football.
It didn't work for me either, though. You know. So, but like he, you know, he said something about regret, and he was like, "You don't want to look back in life and regret anything." Like he was like, "So if you're okay with this decision, then make it. But if not, then stay on the team. Because the worst thing you want to do is be 30 years old and be like, I quit because of this, or I didn't do this because of this. Like, regret is like the worst kind of thing. And like, also following on your story, like he's like, or you don't want to stay because you feel like you owe me something or your team something. Like, that's like the worst. Yeah. And from that moment on, I was like, all right, any decision I make is like my decision. Like, I'll like ask for feedback, I'll listen, but like just for respect or like, listen because people are gonna give it to you regardless. And then you kind of like make your own call, right? And like they could be right or they could be wrong. But it's a much better decision when you make it. You make that call, no matter what happens next, because you're doing the best thing for you in that moment. And I think that's like, for anyone listening, like that is the game in anything you do in life, especially in business. Because it's whether you fail or you win, right? Like it was you.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can do it again. And all right, I failed, I messed up. This is where I messed up. All right, I can be better next time in my next thing. Or it works. Oh shit, I'm pretty fucking smart. Let me like, you know, let me keep listening to my like what I think, right? Like, and like the best advice, like Drake has lines, don't ever take advice.
Yeah.
Like unless somebody has exactly the same life as you, which basically is impossible, right? Like they can't really advise you on how to do it. Yeah. They can give you like tried and true. They can give you mindset thing. They can give you like perspective, and that's what we're all trying to get from people. We're never trying to really get the answer. The answer is like, what is the answer? Well, like as you're talking, you're explaining, everyone's like hearing you explain your thought process. Now they're going to change their perspective on their business if it's not working. Yep. Like you can't really tell them like, well, give away 30K cakes, then you'll be successful. Like some people take that model and like, well, that's part of it, but it's like the mindset behind it. You guys care about family. You guys care about community. That's why you guys did that. If those aren't your values in your business, then you probably shouldn't be doing those things. No. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be inauthentic. It's not going to work. You're not actually going to give the best cake. You're gonna find some way to hack it and make it affordable, and then it's not worth giving at that point, in my opinion. If you're gonna give something, you might as well just fully give it. So, hand clap to you guys for figuring that out.
The cool thing is, I fully agree with what you said about the quote from Drake. The interesting thing is, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this too, is someone says something at the right time when you need it most. And I remember we were sucking wind, and Karen Custer came into the bakery, and they're the ones who own Custer Incorporated. They do build-outs of commercial spaces with steel case furniture. Very successful company here in Grand Rapids and nationally. And Karen had asked me, she goes, hey, so how things going? And your standard lines, like when someone asks you how your day's going, you're like, it's great. And, and you're like, it's chaos and everything sucks. But I was honest with her. I was like, hey, things aren't going so good. We're losing a lot of money, but we're going to figure it out because we may be glasses half full. And she goes, so if you lost a lot of money? Oh, man, a ton of money. And she goes, good. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, so now you know what you need to do to make money. So go do it.
Yeah.
And so when she said that, and she didn't even flinch. Like, she wasn't even thinking. She was like, I could tell you how much my husband and I lost the first year we started our business, and we got our tails kicked. And she said much better than that. But she goes, but then we figured out what we needed to do to make it work. And it was just like, you know, that nice slap across the head of like, we'll start figuring out and get busy. And it was that right moment.
Wow.
And didn't she have you like drop a bunch of cakes from the I love this.
She did. So she was, and she's tough. She's tough-nosed, but she is probably one of the most giving individuals. And
she is loyal.
She is incredibly loyal. And their family gives back anonymously a lot to the community. But she just said, well, you know what we're doing for Christmas this year? We are giving Bundt cakes to business people and friends. And it's like a fish story. It's just going to grow in size how many she did. But it was more than 40 or 40 plus 8-inch cakes, and they were all decorated. And she goes, I want you to drop these off at each one of these homes. And so it was putting, if people Karen thought this was a great cake, then, and she's giving it as a gift, we walked into some amazing homes. And then it was kind of that starting point where we started getting traction. And she said to us, she goes, hey, love the cake, love what you're doing in the community, and we got you. And it was like those moments
that's
where
Grand Rapids. I mean, it's Grand Rapids. I mean, it's worth it in the end. Like I mean, there's something special about it. It's unique. It comes with its own set of challenges, but there's a reason it's a highly coveted place to come and raise your family. I mean, it's really special. And I say that as not a Christian Dutch person. Like, I mean, I'm here by choice, and it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's a really incredible place. And I think that's like, that right there is the perfect example. That's special. Like, that wouldn't happen in downtown Chicago. Like, that's really unique. That wouldn't have happened in Boston. Like, that is very...
Definitely not in Boston. Or anywhere in the Northeast corridor.
I just think that, and you're like 10 minutes from your house at work. Like, you know, there's just so many other little things that I just, if you really appreciate having lived elsewhere, but that's really cool. I love that story. And I think that's just, you've continued to do that too. I mean, it's just so smart.
Were you going to say something?
No. You.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Please do.
I know it's all like love and W right now.
Sorry.
I'm going to shift gears. Coronavirus pandemic hits. Because this is what I want to know about. So, what happens? So what's going through? You guys finally got some traction. You guys are, digging yourself out this hole. Things are looking great.
So if you're listening now, it's like mid to late July. So in case you're listening later, so we're about 4 months into this.
Yeah, 4 months into the pandemic. It now, beginning of the year, like we were doing great. Personally, I'll share we're up 70%. So I was like, well, fuck, this is my goddamn year. You know what I'm saying? Like
we were saying the same thing because we just turned a profit last year for the first time.
Exactly.
And we were just like, this is when it happens.
Right?
It's like, what could go wrong?
Nothing could go wrong. Like,
and then literally nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nobody was coming in. Nobody was
right
calling,
before Easter.
Nobody. Yeah, I mean, because we had like you said, we had January was really good, and we went on a vacation, and we were like,
the fact that January was really good at a bakery, by the way, hilarious.
We were able to take a vacation because we had an awesome team.
Yes.
And we were able to take a vacation because the bakery was doing well. Like, it was like...
Felt good about it. You could breathe for a second. Yes. You're like, chilling. Next with Liz, let's energy, hanging out, having fun. And just walk back into business. And I think like a month later, that's when the shit like hit the fan.
Yeah, and we had, before COVID hit, we had a little hiccup because our son got really sick. So we were, a little thrown off, but then everything was great, and we get back in our routine.
Whole community rallies behind us, personally and at the bakery.
Yeah.
Team and community members.
Yeah.
And we were just like feeling the love, right? Yeah. That tailwind right behind us.
And and then once we got in our routine, it was everything shutting down, everything's closing, everything
Did you guys, what was your initial reaction? Excited or not excited? Were you guys worried or were you like, oh, I like this? Oh, I was freaking out. And I don't, it was so funny as I personally mentally prepared, and I said this drastic statement to other bakery owners. I said, we're taking $50,000 of our savings because we didn't pay ourselves more. We just decided to sink all our money into savings because we didn't want to go back to where we were struggling to make payroll in that first year. So we had that nest egg. I was like, we're going to take $50,000 of it, and we're going to just stay open. We're going to figure it out. And then the best analogy I give, and I think everyone feels this way, but running the business where you're firing on all cylinders, it's like driving a car at 70, 80 miles per hour, and someone pulls out right in front of you, and smack, like a sudden stop, all airbags go off. Yeah. That is what it felt like to me. I remember I was at the Women's Expo, our biggest event of the year, and it was early March, and I'm at DeVos Place downtown. And the Kent County Health Department says, you know what, you can still do this. We're open the first day in the afternoon. They say Governor Whitmer shut down any gatherings over 50 people. Wow. And they just shut down the event there as you speak. And people were in the middle of the event, first day. Wow. And so, of course, we went into it knowing they're like, okay, it might get shut down Saturday, it may get shut down Sunday, but we're going to bake and frost, we're going to figure it out. And we're just like, holy shit. And it's just, it hit. You know that moment? That's like you can talk about it with your plans. Yeah. And then when it does, you're just like,
Well, you just go to the pandemic chapter of the bakery franchise book, right, guys?
Let me turn
In
to
case
that.
of pandemic. Okay.
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
I graduated after 9/11 in the hospitality industry, which is neat. And I worked for Marriott, and of course you can imagine the manuals they've been around since the 50s through many things. And anyways, so again though, economic recession different than a pandemic, but they did have chapter recession, literally there was a
It's
chapter
incredible.
for it. It was almost no one really flinched. It was more okay, well the champagne lunches are done. I was in sales. Apparently in 2000 they would have champagne, for real. It was the best year.
Champagne
I
lunches.
graduated in 2002. Anyway, so they literally had a whole chapter where you just there's a grid. And it's when things are great, when things are starting to suck, when things are really bad. And it's for example, the toilet paper gets worse each time. The coffee in the lobby, good, not that great, awful. It's literally they're prepared for it. It was honestly hilarious and amazing that they were just go to chapter 18 on the recession.
When we start buying the shitty coffee
know.
next week.
No, literally,
in bulk.
I joined it when everything got to the best.
It's and then there's this atomic bunker that you go into and come out in 10 years and it will be just fine.
Been through 3 of
Fine.
these. It'll be good.
Pretty sure it was not a pandemic chapter. I'm sure there is now, but that's funny.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. But it was interesting where I think when we were running out of money that first year and when we decided to burn the ships or whatever, it got real again. And while I wasn't sleeping, I probably felt ill every day because literally imagine the business firing all cylinders and then no one walks in.
Right.
And your team is just standing there because we kept the whole team.
Right.
And now you have all your kids at home with
Right.
you, and they're eating 3 times as much as they normally eat, so you're
times
losing
as much.
money at home too.
Yeah.
And
Oh, facts. This is both places.
grocery prices go up.
I think it was just all right, we're going to do this our way.
Plus, it's a pandemic, so people are worried about their lives.
Yeah.
People are worried about their health. There's that whole other aspect.
And how can you be so chippy and cheery? And marketing
Right.
is people are fucking,
Yeah.
you know,
True.
not in that
Get
mentality.
your cake, it's a party. Right,
But
right.
at that point, no one knew anything about the virus either.
Yeah,
if
just hitting.
your door was open at your bakery and someone walked in within 20 feet of you, you could get COVID. There
Yeah.
were stories of people if you passed gas, you could
Yeah,
give.
right.
Yeah,
the virus
everything was
to
going to get you the
someone.
virus.
Those were scientific
Right,
articles
right.
Yeah.
naming some scientist in Iceland. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
so weird. So you had no clue. Am I endangering the whole family?
Right.
Because I'm coming home.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys decided to stay open through the whole.
So
The whole thing?
We did. We actually
And kept
made.
the whole staff, which is incredible.
We were probably incredibly stupid in hindsight, right? Because everyone told us, lay off everyone, save the business, make sure, and they said it from a very positive place.
Yeah.
Make sure there's something for everyone to come back to.
Yeah.
You're doing a good service to everyone, and so we still had more savings, but it's burn through the 50,000, hold on to all employees, don't cut hours, stay open the same amount, don't close your lobby, make changes, make it safer, stay the course. And then it's pause for 3 days and start to put in motion a couple plans. But we went back to our playbook was start giving back. That was it. So we came out swinging the Monday after that announcement from that Friday where we got shut down at the Women's Expo, and we said we're just going to start giving cake away. And that's where we went to a bunch of the hospitals and gave away over 1,000 Bundtlets. We're just no. I went over the top. I donated blood with my buddy. It's we're gonna start out. We're gonna donate blood, and then we're
Donate
gonna
cakes.
give
Oh,
out
yeah.
cakes, whether they want cake or not. They're getting it.
Are you O negative?
I am.
Me too. I need
So-
to know some other O negatives in town because you can only get blood from O negative.
Yeah. No, I'm O positive,
Oh.
but I can give it to you, right?
Okay.
'Cause
I don't know.
I
gotta-
think if I'm an O positive, I can give it to everyone.
Okay, then me too.
Yeah. So you're
See,
good.
but I don't know that I can. I think I can only get from O negative.
Cor-
Is that true?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look this up.
We're gonna find out.
You said I.
But I know
they
were
call
really
you a lot though.
They were excited, and I get the email daily
Every day.
that I can be a
because you're a
hero.
universal donor.
You're a
so-
hero.
Now, I don't know about that, but I'll probably look anemic
Yeah.
after a while.
Yeah.
No, that's smart.
But it was just one of those things, and then it was all right, give back, and then just embrace the suck. Yeah, I know you've got a shirt. Doesn't it say that? It says embrace the suck.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And it wasn't like getting any better for weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
I don't know if were your experiences similar or
So I actually closed down. I have a small team, like, so I was not trying to get people sick. And like to your point, and people are like my customers, I love you guys. They're like super like healthy people, you know what I'm saying? They're into it all. So I'm like also getting like emails and articles of like COVID. I'm like, all right, I get the point. You want me to close the fuck down. You know what I'm saying? So like, so I was like, all right, let me just make this call. Let me just like close down. And my stance was, everyone's still gonna have a job. Everyone's still be taken care of. And I was like still taking care of people, even though we weren't open. But I was like, I can't make this call for $20 extra. That was like my whole thing. Like if I'm wrong, then like I lost 3 months of bad business, like in business. Yeah. All right, we're fine. Right? If I'm right, well then everyone's safe, and then like the world ending anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. So like, but I'm getting like all on this like, all these calls, like, you know, what do you think? I'm like, we're all fucked. You know, everyone's like, I'm not being negative. It's like mentally prepping all you guys to like get ready for a fight and be excited. If you're trying to avoid the falling on the bike or taking the Band-Aid off or like pulling your tooth out, then you're like limiting yourself from like the other side of it. Like pull the tooth out, all right, great, it hurt for a hot second, it bleed a little bit, great, and now a new tooth grows in. Like you have to like just admit like the real stuff first. Like don't hide it, you know? And like I love being positive and like, okay, we can work our way through, yes, but all of us, especially like you guys, I know you guys are fucked. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to like rechange your business. And so we closed for a little bit. And then, but before we closed, I did delivery. So that was my first pivot. As soon as like Governor Whitmer was like, "Nah, y'all can't have people in your restaurant," I'm like, "Fuck it, we're delivering." That went crazy.
Yeah.
Like I made even more money in those 2 weeks. I'm like, oh shit, I just did like a month in 2 weeks just by doing like.
But that's awesome.
Delivery. So it was amazing, right? And then I'm like, all right, we're killing it, and we're already at 70%. We're already doing great. Closed down, and then you know all this stuff happened, and I just reopened like a month ago or so. And so, like, it kind of felt like on my side, I made the right call for like my business, like what we were just talking about earlier. Like, you have to know your business. And you have to like, and if I was wrong, it was on me. If I was right, it was on me. Right? Like,
but there wasn't a wrong way to respond in my mind, because it's like if you know your business and you know what you need to do, and also taking into account your team.
Yes.
It's like there was no playbook. So someone can't say to you, "You were right, you were wrong." It's like, well, you made the best call with the best information you had.
Yeah. So this is a good follow-up question. Like, how do you, with your team, or how do you guys define clarity? Because I think a lot of people don't have that. Like when they ask me questions, probably ask you guys questions about business, Liz as well. Like you try to help them, and I'm 23, so I don't think I can help anybody. I'm like, well, I don't really fucking know. I'm just like in it as much as everybody else. I don't have years of like to give you. But then I'm like listening back and forth. I'm like, well, like if that's how you are, if that's your personality type, then like, well, you have to be self-aware about that, have clarity on that. So how do you guys like go about clarity? Because I think a lot of people don't know their strengths, like their weaknesses. They're not self-aware. They don't have the clarity, so like they don't know what to do. That's where they're like grasping and looking.
Yeah, you
like,
said a big thing was like you figuring out your identity.
Like how do you guys go about that? Like how do you figure that out?
I think it's our values. I think when we opened up the business, name was Ohana Ventures. It's Hawaiian for family, and our kiddo, our oldest, Acadia, her favorite movie was Lilo and Stitch, and they have this saying, and it's
Ohana
like
family.
No one gets left behind or forgotten. And I think that was the defining moment for the team of not letting them go. It's like, well, they're an extension of our family. And another one of ours is Spirit of a Champion. And it's like we're not backing down from a fight. We have the ability because we don't have sit down, dine in.
Right.
It's like pick up, carry out in a sense, and we could do delivery on the fly and curbside pickup. But I think the team was ingrained with that. They didn't want to leave us, and we didn't want to leave them. And I think that was like the defining. I think that was our clarity. Like we have no clue about anything else but Ohana.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's what we have.
I mean, we don't know if we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, but we're gonna support our team.
Yeah.
And, do the best we can with that. So
you never regret supporting your team.
Yeah, it's with our. I guess the best way to say it with our team is like their hourly wage. Some of them are really good about saving. Some aren't.
Yeah.
Some of them are one paycheck away from bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Like, no clue if they called unemployment and they were going to be taking care of those before
Yeah.
an extra $600
Right.
was coming at you. So it's just like, well,
Yeah,
what
no.
do you do?
No, what do you do? And like, and your team that they have been with you guys for a while, right? Some have, and so they've been through like the beginning. It's good. Like I think people, your team, like they need to see that. Like are they not soft? Basically, like are they? If it was hard before, like a pandemic's not gonna fear them away. There's a lot of like employees who were in such a good situation because the business was so good that they were way more entitled. They weren't ready to work with the business, and that's why I think we had a lot of people jump ship. And to their point, like I'm not mad at them. I'm like, hey, you know your situation, so you have to go on unemployment and take care of what you gotta take care of. That's fine with me. I'm not gonna judge you. Cause I'm not you. I don't live your day-to-day life. But I do see like a lot of employees working out all these restaurants or hotels where it was so good that half their tips stopped, they quit, right? And I'm like, oh. But then you saw the people that stuck around, like, okay, these are like wartime people. They're ready.
Right.
You said it.
You want to work at Irie, bro? Like, come on, like, let's fucking go. Like, you want the people who are like willing to fight and like go through it. And so like, and the fact that you guys invested in your team the whole way through, for a lot of people, your senior people, that's probably not a hard decision. To like, all right, we're gonna stay by you guys and help, because you're taking care of them when you guys didn't have to. Before the pandemic.
But that's the moment,
Right?
like where it got real, where we knew they had our back, and we kind of knew that as we got crazy busy. 3 weeks in, we offered free delivery, did all this advertising, and we were doing curbside pickup. We weren't telling people that the front of the bakery was open. It was just unlocked, right? If a couple people came in, I was trying to keep everyone out.
Yeah.
Smart.
But the reality was, it's like all of a sudden, people still have birthdays,
Yeah.
and they wanted to give something.
And
to
they
someone.
probably couldn't like go and hang out with them, so like sending a cake is also a nice alternative.
And we could decorate, and then overnight, like we went from doing, say, like 20 deliveries a week to, holy crap, we're doing 300.
Right.
Wow.
And so we scaled a business overnight, but then we were so busy, like our whole product mix changed, where everyone was decorating a cake. Well, before then, only maybe about 4% were decorating
Right.
a
Oh,
cake.
interesting.
So it was like, holy cow. So
I never thought
it
about
took
that.
like the labor that went into it changed, but our whole team went like student body from the left, went student body right. With
Right.
us. And they were like, oh my gosh, like I'm working late into the night, and we have these little bows that go on the cakes.
The
We
cutest
fluff them
part.
by hand, and here we are at 9 o'clock at night,
Right.
fluffing bows.
Right. Right.
And people weren't necessarily coming in, but the phone was ringing. So, you know, every line is ringing, and the computer is beeping like crazy because orders are coming in. So it was so different because, you know, people weren't doing their usual thing, and they had to take a few extra steps, which took longer. And now, you know, it's just everybody's busy.
It became a whole different business.
Yeah, completely.
Overnight.
But the cool thing is that the team just worked their tails off. Like a great example, it was Mother's Day. It was the Saturday before Mother's Day, and that Friday night, we actually had to shut off online ordering because it got out of hand, because we had to execute with excellence to make sure that we took care of things. But the team stayed with us, I think, until 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, obviously we got them food, did things, but like everyone had 1,000 reasons to walk out that door and go, you know,
I'm done.
This is ridiculous. Because we did that to you the night before, because we didn't expect the Friday before
to be that crazy.
Mother's Day, and they all like stuck it out. And I think the most touching moment of it all is, we call it our alumni association. We want people to use this as a stepping stone to their dreams.
Oh, that's cool.
And what was cool is text messages came in and said, hey, I hear you guys are pushed. Do you want me to come in?
Oh, that's so
And so,
cool.
because they're like, I'm at home. And it's like,
Yeah.
I know how to frost. I know how to decorate cakes.
Yeah.
And so
Use me,
the Alumni Association started
That's
coming
so
in to help us
cool.
out. Or just even the check-in. And so that's where it kind of felt like, okay, maybe they aren't just rolling their eyes when we say Ohana. So I think that's where I know it's a long way to answer the whole thing, the guiding principle, but I have no other way of answering it but just Ohana.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I love that.
And that's powerful stuff.
All right, so we're about to wrap things up. Should we take a little bite of this cake while we...
I think
it's
it's been
here.
staring at me.
Yeah, I've been smelling it the whole time. Like, Liz, please intro the cake.
So
What do we have here?
I want you to tell us a little bit about the cake and why it is so coveted and special. And people that don't like cake like this cake.
It is a whole different kind of cake, and you don't get it until you try it, because we've had so many people either come in or we tell them what we do, and they're like, it's just Bundt cake. Like my grandma used to make a Bundt cake, and it was dry, or it was this, it was that. It's like, no, this is different. And then when you see people's face when they take their first bite, it's like it's so neat. Everything's made by hand. It's all,
and the frosting is like
Made
it's the
from
best
scratch.
frosting.
That's the way you do it. You make everything by hand.
everything's
That's
made by
it.
hand, and it really, we do everything at the bakery that you would do in your own kitchen. It's just to a larger scale.
Yeah.
We have a mixer, we have a stand mixer for frosting, we have an oven. It's all basic, simple stuff, but just put
I
together
think
in a
there's
way.
there's no shortcuts. It's incredibly fresh, and I think you can taste the difference of what is done by hand versus not. And so that's the cool thing. Most franchises, if you think about them, there's like
not that
the semi-finished product rolls through your back door, and there's this magic lever, right? Because you can do it really quick. And it surprises people in such a small space that we have. We have 1,600 square feet, and there's this small front. But if you remove this wall and you peer into what we call our back of house, it's like Magic Keebler Elves or something. But there's a good number of people back there doing everything by hand with old school frosting bags and everything. And I like to think you can see and taste the difference.
You can.
Wow.
That's why you're so successful.
So we have chocolate here.
Yep.
What else we have?
Chocolate. We have our gluten-free chocolate chip cookie, which even though it's gluten-free, nobody knows it's gluten-free.
It's really good.
because
What type of flour do you use?
rice?
Smart.
And then our lemon raspberry, which is the flavor of the month right now. Nice for summer.
And then we have all the other flavors hiding somewhere in this area around us.
And you have like seasonal flavors.
We do.
Yeah. Okay. So if people want to check you out, where can they find you online? Where can they find you? Where are you located?
So if you're in Grand Rapids, you can find us across from the Costco on 28th Street, right off of I-96.
By the way, good location. Do you agree?
We love it.
I was going to say, I feel like that is a prime location.
We trusted our gut with that one.
Yeah.
But that was a good decision at the beginning amongst probably a bunch of bad ones. But and then I think for us, you can go on www.nothingbundtcakes.com. The cool thing is every location bakes and frosts by hand.
Right.
So if you aren't in Grand Rapids, you're okay. It's going
still
to be
good.
amazing.
Right.
I assure you. But if you are in Grand Rapids or visiting Grand Rapids, we would love, love, love for you to visit with us. Or wherever you're at, just enjoy some Bundt cake. Just enjoy your day and have a little joy
And
yourself.
don't forget, you can order online. People can send it to loved ones and things like that.
You got it.
All right, guys, we're going to start eating cake and probably drink some wine. But thank you guys so much
10
for
out of
being
10.
here.
Just took a bite.
I know.
And the gluten-free one, which is fire for gluten-free cake.
Yeah, that's good to know. I didn't even know you had that.
Thank
you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us. Awesome to see you.
Of course.
Some jazz today, yes you gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1 when 2 3 man with a 4 5 step to the door like, oh my gosh, just throw that cash in a back bag, run around.